Welcome. We have a gentle restorative practice today focused on releasing tension in the lower back. Props for today include a yoga mat, several blankets, some yoga blocks, a strap, and then a chair. If you don't have a folding chair, you could situate yourself near the seat of a couch, a recliner, or a lower table. We'll use that toward the end of practice for some of our restorative poses. If anything that we do in practice today bothers or aggravates your lower back, please don't do it. Opt out, and maybe you can modify and do something else. Let's begin on our back. Go ahead and make yourself comfortable. You could recline with arms and legs extended, or you could start with your knees bent. I encourage you to place something underneath your head. I've got a folded up blanket here, but you could use a small pillow. I find that elevating the head puts the spine in a little bit more of a neutral position, but again, you can choose not to place something under your head if you'd like. Go ahead and close your eyes and take the first few moments just to pause, check in, notice how your body's feeling. Make sure that your shoulders are released down away from your ears. Even sometimes when we come down onto our back, they can kind of scrunch up a little bit. So if you notice that happening, slide them down. And let the head of the arm bone, the top part of your arm, release toward the floor. Soften your jaw. Smooth out the muscles of the face, particularly the bridge of your nose in between your eyebrows. Let's draw the awareness, the focus to the breath. For today's practice, let's practice a breath where we emphasize or accent the exhale. Oftentimes as we breathe, we sort of emphasize the inhalation, and the exhalation is just passive, it's really quick. We're going to try and reverse that a little bit. So take a breath in, and as you breathe out, slow the exhale down. Breathe in. Long, slow exhale. Now, sometimes when we're in pain or we're experiencing discomfort, if we slow the exhale down, we might purse our lips and kind of blow out through the mouth that sort of breath. But I encourage you to keep your mouth relaxed. Exhale through your nose if you can. And if you'd like, every now and then as you exhale, you can softly sigh out through the mouth, that kind of sound. The sigh you would have at the end of a long day, that kind of relax and release sound. And it doesn't have to be every breath. Maybe just when you think of it, use that sigh for your exhale. We're going to begin in constructive rest pose. So we'll bend the knees, we'll take the feet out wide and rest the knees in together, like two poles resting together. You want to find a fairly neutral position in your pelvis. So as you check in with your lower back, we don't want the lower back completely flattened to the floor, but we don't want a lot of space there either. You're trying to find this kind of sweet spot. Everyone's body shape is a little bit different, but you might feel that your clothing is touching the floor, but there's not a lot of pressure between your lower back and the floor. So it's almost a hint of space. As you notice the muscles of your back, just explore, be curious.
We're not just looking for discomfort, but look for other sensations as well. Relax your hips. Let's take one more soft, deep breath. Emphasize the exhale. And then let's bring the knees up, feet are wide. And we're gonna slide the knees to the right and then to the left. So we're just moving the knees back and forth like windshield wipers. Slow and steady, we're not in a rush. And the amount of movement is up to you. You could move a little bit, you could move a lot. And as you become aware of your pelvis, as the knees move, the pelvis may stay still, or there might be a gentle amount of rotation. Make sure the shoulders stay nice and relaxed. The next time you move your knees over to the right, let's pause there. Soften your belly. Let's move the knees over to the left and pause. Bring the knees up, and then we'll heel toe the feet in till the feet are about pelvis width apart. Arms come down by the sides. We'll do a little bit of stability work. So find a neutral position in the pelvis. Press your feet into the floor, and we're gonna lift the pelvis. It just hovers about an inch above the floor, still in that neutral position. Keep your front ribs relaxed down. So we're loading the muscles and the tissues that support the back of the pelvis, the SI joints that connect the sacrum to the pelvic bones. Take one more breath and then release. Reach for a yoga block or a pillow if you don't have a block, and we'll take it and place it in between the knees. Knees or thighs. Let's press into the sides of the block, engaging the adductors, those inner thigh muscles. And relax. Again, hug in to the sides of the block. Don't squeeze so much that it hurts. Those blocks sometimes are pretty hard. Release. And let's do one more time. Squeeze in, hug into the sides. And then relax. Set the block off to the side. Let's bring the right knee in toward the chest. We're going to keep the left knee bent. And we'll take our hands and stack them on the top of the thigh. Using the hands as a little bit of resistance, press your thigh into your hands. It's a gentle press, not a huge contraction. And then relax. Let's take the fingers, interlace them together, slip them over the shin. If this doesn't work for you, you can also take a yoga strap around the front of the shin, and this time we'll press out. Relax. You can keep your left knee bent or extend your leg out long, and then use your hands to circle the knee around. First in one direction, and then circle the other way. Open your knee to the right. Try to keep the left side of the pelvis down on the floor, so we haven't completely rolled onto the right side. Bring the knee up. Let's pull the knee across, moving into a twist. Extend the right arm out to the side. And then start to rotate the pelvis, the lower ribs. Keep the right shoulder blade on the floor. You could rest your chin in the center, or if you'd like, roll your head to the right. Let's bring the knee back up. Take a pause. Release, and take both feet to the floor, knees bent. We're gonna do that whole thing on the other side. Bringing the left knee into the chest, we'll take the hands, stack them on the top of the thigh, and use your hands as resistance, pressing your thigh into your hands. Again, it's a gentle press, not a huge contraction. And then release. Slip the hands over the front of the shin. You could also use a strap. And then we'll push that knee out. Relax. Let's start to circle that knee around using your hands. You could keep your right knee bent or extend your leg out long if you'd like. Check in with your breath. Make sure it's nice and steady. We're focusing on that exhale. Open your knee to the left and try and keep the right side of the pelvis down on the floor. Bring the knee up. We'll pull the knee across, moving into a twist. Extend that left arm out to the side. Starting to rotate the pelvis, rotate the lower ribs. Keep the left shoulder blade down. You could rest your chin in the center or roll your head to the left. slowly bring the knee back up. Take a moment and pause. And take both feet to the floor. We're gonna bring the right knee back into the chest, this time holding on to the back of the thigh. You can interlace your fingers together or use a strap. Bend your knee, flex your right ankle and foot, and then we're just slowly gonna start to straighten and bend that right knee. We're looking for a gentle stretch, so don't worry if the leg straightens or not. That's not really our intention. The next time that you extend your leg, pause, and let's point and flex the foot a few times. Circle the ankle around. One direction and then the other. Bend the knee and switch to the other side. So we'll bring the left knee into the chest, holding onto the back of the thigh. Use your hands or a strap. With the knee bent, flex the left ankle and foot, and then we'll just slowly start to straighten and bend. Extend your leg and pause. And then let's point and flex that foot a few times. And then circle your ankle around. Bend the knee, release the foot to the floor. Let's reach for a strap. If you have a yoga strap, that's great. If not, you could use the strap to a robe, a scarf, a necktie. We'll place it on the right foot and then press your foot up toward the ceiling. Slide your hands down the strap, relax your shoulders. Left knee could be bent, or you may choose to extend that leg. And then we're gonna let the right leg move away from the body until you can find that neutral pelvis again, dropping the tailbone a little. Maintain that position in the pelvis, and we'll slowly pull the leg toward the chest and then let it move away. So the movement could be small, could be bigger. We're moving that thigh bone in relationship to the pelvis, releasing tension in that right set of glutes, the hamstrings. Let's find a place to pause. And then we'll do a little bit of hip rotation, turning your thigh bone out and in. Let's come back into, let's call this neutral, where the knee and the toes are pointing toward the top of the head. And we'll take one more deep breath. And then release and switch to the other side. Put the strap onto the left foot, press that foot up, slide your hands down, relax your shoulders. Choose the position of that right leg that feels best in your body today. And then we're gonna let the left leg move away until you can find a neutral pelvis, drop the tailbone. Keep that neutral position and we'll pull the leg toward the chest and let it move away. Find a place to pause. And now we'll focus on hip rotation, turning the thigh bone out and in. So the leg isn't moving side to side. It's not moving around in a circle. It's rotating in place. You can think about where your kneecap is pointing. We're going to turn it to point to the left and then to point to the right. Come back to this place we'll call neutral. Knee and toes pointing toward the top of the head. Take one more breath. And then release. Set your strap off to the side. Bend your knees, take your feet to the floor, arms down by the sides. Let's come into that sort of a tiny bridge one more time. In the neutral position, press the feet down, lift the pelvis so it hovers about 1 inch over the floor, still in a neutral position. Front ribs, soft, release down. And lower to the floor. Cross your right ankle over your left knee. We're going to come into your choice of eye of the needle variation. So your left foot may stay on the floor. You might prop the left foot up with a block or a pillow, or hug the left knee in toward the chest. They're all variations of the same pose, so you choose what fits you best. Check in with your breath. Long, slow exhale. Release and switch sides. Crossing the left ankle over the right knee. You could choose the same variation on this side or switch it up. Whatever feels best. We're not completely symmetrical from the right to the left, so it would make sense that some of the poses would look different as we switch sides. Release, uncross the ankle. Let's bring both knees into the chest. Just gently flatten that lower back, press it to the floor, and then we'll roll side to side. So a little bit of a rocking motion. Take your time as you roll. We're going to come on to hands and knees into a tabletop position. If putting weight into your hands, your wrists isn't something that works for you, you can do all of these same movements with your forearms on blocks or your forearms on the floor. So remember, that's an option. Once you're in your tabletop, let's move the spine through cat and cow. So as we exhale, we'll round, tuck the chin. Inhale to arch, moving the other way. Follow the breath, moving at your own pace. Find a neutral position for your spine. You've got a level sacrum. Invite the lower ribs up, press the back of your head up, and then we'll curl the spine to the right and then to the left. So we're just making a gentle C shape on one side of the spine and then the other. Let's come back to neutral. Find that level pelvis, that level sacrum. Imagine that you were balancing something there. And we're going to do a little bit of a rock, reaching the sit bones straight back and then coming forward. So a slow rock. If you've pressed back and the tailbone starts to tuck under, that's a little bit too far. So you think of your shoulders and your hips like hinges, and the spine's going to stay in this nice long neutral position. You might lightly draw the belly up. The next time that you reach your hips back, go ahead and settle into child's pose. You could come down onto elbows and forearms if a deep bend in the knee doesn't feel good. But if it does, and you want to sit back further, you might reach the arms out in front. Let your forehead release to the floor. As you take a deep breath, imagine filling up the back body with breath. Let's come back to all fours, that tabletop position. And we're going to move into a twist. Take the right arm and let's reach through. You could come down and pause on the elbow, or reach through and come down to the outer shoulder. Rest your head on the floor. Center the hips between your knees, and then let's bend the elbow and press the palm down. Slowly come up, and we'll switch to the other side. Take that left arm, reach through. As you come into your twist, center your hips. You might bend your right elbow, pressing your palm into the floor. And slowly come up. Let's lower forward and down onto the belly. Legs are pelvis width apart. Stack your hands, rest your head. Let's bring the arms forward and we'll spin the elbows in. Lifting up into Sphinx pose. Press the pubic bone into the floor, lift your lower belly, and then draw the crown of the head forward. As you lift, think of pulling the heart through the arms. Press your elbows down. Imagine creating space and length in your lower back. Relax your neck, your shoulders. And then roll down. Support your head, bend your knees so the feet are pointing up toward the ceiling. And then we'll slide the feet side to side. With the movement, This is maybe a little bit of pelvic rotation. Let's bring the feet up. Extend the legs. Press your hands under your shoulders. We're going to come back to all fours and set up for a low lunge. Now this may be an opportunity for you to pad your knees, grabbing a blanket or a pillow. And you can also take blocks and set them up for underneath your hands. Now if lunges really don't work in your body, I encourage you to come down onto your back and bring one knee into the chest. It's a good alternative for this pose. But if you're upright, plant your hands. Let's step the right foot forward. Look down at your foot. Make sure the toes are pointing toward the top of the mat. Square the hips forward, and then let the weight of the pelvis just gently release toward the floor. We're softening the front of that left hip. Extend the spine. If you find that the spine is really rounded, then I encourage you to grab some blocks, even maybe bring them up a little bit higher, give yourself some space so the spine can extend. Let's take one more breath. And then slide that foot back. Let's switch to the other side. We're going to step the left foot forward in between the hands. Plant the foot. Toes are pointing toward the top of the mat, and we're going to square the hips forward. Let the weight of the pelvis just release down toward the floor. And extend through the crown of the head. We want a nice long spine, not overly rounded. And bring that foot back. Ease back once more into child's pose, or if downward facing dog is a part of your practice and it would feel good today, walk the hands forward, tuck your toes under, and press your hips up and back. You can alternate bending the knees. Bend one knee and extend the opposite leg, and then slowly switch. Let's make our way into a standing position. However you'd like to get there. You could walk your feet forward, moving through a forward fold, or step one foot forward and press yourself up. Once we come upright, we'll find our mountain pose, our standing position. So look down at your feet. You want to plant them about the width of your hip points, with the knees and the toes mostly pointing toward the front. So your feet look a little bit more like the number 11 and less like a V. Now, once you've situated your feet, let the weight of the pelvis shift a little bit side to side so that you can find the place where your weight is evenly distributed between both feet. Now let your weight come forward into the balls of the feet, onto the toes, and then back behind the heels. Let's do that again. Forward and back. Now try and stack the weight of the pelvis over the heels and get your ribs and your head over your pelvis. Arms relaxed to the sides. Turn the inner elbows just slightly forward, opening the shoulders. Lift through the crown of the head. Take a moment here in your mountain pose, in your Tadasana, and pause. Take a breath. Let's move into a side bend. So from here, we'll curl the spine to the left, sliding the left fingertips down. Keep your pelvis center between your feet. You could stay here. If you want a little bit more load, we could sweep the top arm up and over. So that'd be another option. And then even a little bit more would be to bring that bottom arm out. You could try all three, see which one feels better. And then slowly come up.
Let's try it on the other side. So we'll curl to the right, sliding the right fingertips down. Pelvis stays centered between the feet. If you'd like, maybe that top arm comes up and over. And you might also bring that bottom arm out. Slowly come up, release the arms, roll the shoulders. Let's sit back into chair pose. So send the hips back as you bend the knees. Imagine there was a chair a couple of feet behind you. Knees stay back over the heels, and then reach the arms forward. Lightly pull the belly in, lift through the crown of the head. And then slowly come up. Step your feet out wide. And we'll turn the left hip out, toes point to the left. Bend that left knee, moving into warrior two. Extend the arms, turn the head. Press that left knee toward the pinky toe side of the foot. Untuck your tailbone. From there, let's fold at that hip. Take your hand or your forearm to your thigh and sweep the right arm up and over, side angle pose. Push your feet down. And then slowly come up. Rotate the other way. We've got the left toes forward, right hip turned out, toes point to the right, bend your knee. Extend the arms, turn your head, warrior two. Press your knee toward the pinky toe side of the foot, untuck your tailbone. And then fold at your hip. Take your hand or your forearm to your thigh, and then sweep the top arm up and over, side angle pose. Slowly come up. Let's turn both feet forward. We'll come into a standing wide forward fold. Now you could grab blocks for underneath your hands. You could take your hands to the seat of your chair, or you might reach for the floor. Soften the knees. Press the thigh bones back as you tilt your pelvis. And then slowly reach for your props or the floor. Again, we're thinking about releasing tension in the lower back, the hamstrings, the glutes. So it's not necessarily how deep we come into the fold, whether or not the legs are straight, if the hands are on the floor. This is about sensation. Check in with your breath. Let's bend the knees, heel toe the feet in closer together. And then press yourself up to standing. Find your mountain pose once more, and we'll do knee to chest pose for our balance today. This is often a pose we do, a stretch we do on our back. We're going to do it upright so it becomes a balance challenge. Now you can do this at a wall or with your hand to a chair. We'll start by shifting the weight into the right leg and hugging the left knee in toward the chest. You could use one hand or both hands. You could use a strap around your knee. Make sure that you untuck your pelvis, press your standing thigh back, and relax your shoulders. Gentle hug of that knee toward the chest. And then release. Let's switch to the other side. So find mountain pose once more. We'll shift the weight into the left leg, bringing the right knee up. You could use one hand, both hands, use a strap. Untuck your tailbone, press your standing thigh back. Relax your shoulders. And then release. Inhale, sweep the arms up. Exhale, fold forward, slowly reach for the floor. And then make your way down to sitting. Let's come into a cross-legged seat with the right shin in front. And we're going to take our chair or position ourselves so that our chair is toward that right knee. It's kind of at an angle. And we're going to do a little bit of a twist with a forward fold. Now, if sitting cross-legged doesn't work for you, you sit in whatever way you can. We'll start by tipping the pelvis forward. Roll toward the front of the sit bones. Take your hands out in front and extend the spine. So we're not rounding, we're tipping the pelvis. It's our first restorative pose. And then let's walk over to the right. Take your arms up to the chair and drape yourself over. Make sure that you keep that left sit bone connected to the floor. Make yourself comfortable because we're going to be here for a little bit longer, so you may not go as deeply into the pose. Let's slowly walk back around to the front and then press yourself up. Switch the cross of the legs and either rotate yourself or move your chair over so it's near that left knee. Again, cross-legged or as close as you can manage to that shape. Start in the forward fold, tipping the pelvis forward, roll to the front of the sit bones, and then place the hands out in front. Now let's walk over to the left. Drape yourself over your chair. If you need to add blankets or pillows on the chair and make it higher, go ahead and grab more props. Make sure your head's supported and that right sit bone stays down. Remember, we're holding these restorative poses a little bit longer, so you might not move as deeply into them as you would if we were holding them less.
Walk yourself around to the front before you press up.
Slowly come up. And we're going to do one more supported forward fold using the chair. So this time we're going to turn to face the chair or whatever it is you're using for a prop. And you choose the position of your legs. I'm actually going to extend my legs forward so they go underneath the chair and they're about pelvis width, but you could take them out wide. You could cross the legs again. It's completely up to you. Maybe one knee's bent and the other leg's extended. You can go ahead and maybe pull some of the flesh back, tipping forward so you're at the front of your sit bones, and then drape yourself over the chair.
Make sure your head's supported.
Now, while the spine rounds in these forward folds, it's a really gentle shape. We don't want to fold in one particular position, like folding at the belly or underneath the rib cage. So really focus on that forward tilt and using a lot of support.
Take a deep breath.
And then slowly press yourself up. We're going to come down onto our back with our legs up on the seat of the chair. So make sure you've got something for underneath your head if that's what you'd like. If you want to add any additional clothes, because we're gonna make our way down and that'll be our segue into Shavasana. You can add some socks or grab a blanket, maybe a sweater. Go ahead and take your time sort of wiggling your way down so that both legs can come up and be supported on the seat of the chair. You can scoot a little bit so that the very edge of the seat kind of touches the back of the thigh. Knees are bent, arms relaxed at the sides. Let's cross the left ankle over the right knee. Now you could stay here. This is kind of an eye of the needle shape, or you might pull the leg further across and take your hand and just gently pull that heel toward the outer hip. So this is a little bit like the top leg in cow face pose.
but it doesn't work for everybody, so remember you've got a couple of options. Relax your left hip. Let's release. And we'll switch, crossing the right ankle over the left knee. Remember, you can come into that eye of the needle shape, or cross the leg over further and take your hand just gently pulling the heel toward the outer hips. It's almost like that top leg in cow face pose. Relax your shoulders, soften your right hip. Release, and take that right leg up. Make sure that both legs are completely supported. Find a comfortable position for your arms, whether that's out to the sides or you could rest the hands in. Close your eyes. Let yourself settle. We have a couple more minutes. If this feels like a good place to stay, you don't need to make any changes, but if you'd like to shift into another final resting pose, maybe you want to extend arms and legs in that kind of classic Shavasana shape, or move into another position, you can do so now. Once you're settled, close your eyes and take a soft, deep breath. Invite in a deeper breath as you slowly begin to move. Take your time. Transitioning upright, you just want to slowly roll. Making your way back up. Take a moment with your eyes closed or your gaze down just to pause and check in. I invite you to place a hand over your heart and softly rub as a reminder to practice from a place of care and compassion. I say namaste to honor the light within. I bow to each of you, namaste. Thank you for joining me.